I don't think there are very many murder cases like this one. The horror of what happened is something that nobody ever expects.
Officer down.
Call for EMS.
Justin, breathe! Breathe, Justin, breathe!
And everything about it, the way the night started from the defendant's point of view, that he was just out shooting at animals and shooting at stop signs. I grew up doing that. But the way it evolved from that to end up shooting and murdering a game warden is crazy. I got involved in this case because the elected DA of Wharton County, which is close to home where I'm from, Matagorda County, had never tried a death penalty case before. So these are the people I grew up with. This is my world. When I met Justin's family, I'm pretty sure I cried a lot because they're wonderful people, and anyone who met Justin's family would want to get justice for him.
I'm a Texas game warden. We work where people hunt, where people fish. Our biggest focus is going to be making sure everybody's got their license and their permits and everything that they're supposed to have in order to do that legally. Our job's a little bit different than most law enforcement. Most of the people we deal with don't break the law. The flip side of that, though, is during hunting season, everybody we check has a gun. In Wharton County, there are 2 game wardens. As game wardens, we work predominantly alone. That night, I called my partner, Justin. We were close. We got along really good at the academy. And I said, okay, so where are you going? He said, I'm going to go up to Garwood area. And I said, okay. I said, where do you think I should go? He said, I'd go up there to the Bernard Prairie, where we noticed that a lot of the street signs had been shot, significantly shot. You could tell it was pretty current, recent activity. That's one of those things that we'd kind of look for in the off season because there's not a whole lot going on. And the shooting from a public roadway in Texas is illegal. He said, maybe sit up there somewhere. Maybe you'll catch somebody. And so that's where I headed. I got up on County Road 279 and I parked my truck, turned all my lights off. Normally, I would sit on that road for 2 hours and not see a car. But I saw a truck turn off Highway 90 coming towards me, driving extremely slow. That's kind of a clue for us that there might be up to no good. So I'm sitting in the truck and I'm watching him through binoculars and he shoots. My immediate thought was, this is the guy I'm looking for. As I was approaching him, we were face to face, which is not ideal for a police stop. Ideally, I'd be behind him so I could see everything in front of me. And when he's slowly rolling towards me, initially I thought maybe he was just getting closer so we could talk. Instead, he just slowly drove past my truck. I was just going to write him a ticket and send him home. Class C misdemeanor, just like getting a traffic ticket or running a stop sign. And he takes off. I was kind of shocked. This isn't normal. Now I got a guy that's not stopping, failure to yield. So that's serious. So we just upped a charge.
When the suspect takes off the way he did, you have to chase him. What are you going to do? Let people just get away with it when they take off from you? And what kind of precedent does that set? That's how you handle it.
The game warden pursuing a vehicle in the area of Eagle Lake, Colorado County, Wharton County, Lissy.
We jump on Highway 90. He was driving really fast, like over 100. And my truck can't keep up. County deputies and the state troopers also joined in. Luckily, a constable was able to catch up to him. Constable was able to get behind him and call on the license plate. And it comes back to a James Garrett Freeman.
You really had to watch your speed so you didn't lose control of your vehicle.
Sounded like a 22, what I could hear.
We need to try to get him stopped somehow. And really the only way that we can see so far to do that is to get stop sticks.
All units, we have spikes deployed at County Road 260. Spikes deployed right in front of y'all.
We tried to spike the vehicle several times, and it's almost like he knew where we were at because he would go the other way.
4113 unit. What's the speed at this time? 50 miles an hour, 4113. That's good. Y'all want me to
Try to block him off here or try to let him pass?
Justin asked, hey, do you want me to block his vehicle? And I don't know what officer came over the radio and said it, but he's like, hey, it's your truck. And Justin did use his vehicle to block the road.
We're north on 279. I'm not sure. He may have struck 4111's vehicle.
When he hits Justin's truck, now we have assault on the police officer. We've just upped the charge to a felony.
Once he struck the truck and kept going, I knew that, this was very serious because he was not giving up easy.
3132, we're headed east on 264.
We drove around the same area for almost an hour.
What was going through my head was this guy is from the area because he's staying close and doing circles and taking the same roads.
We're setting up at 279. If he comes back this way, we'll be set up.
I could see the trooper set up, and there was really nowhere for him to go around. And he ended up hitting the spikes. There was a little relief because now I'm like, okay, this is going to end. Let's get this guy in custody and get him in jail.
3132 vehicle stopped.
You don't know what's going to happen, but it's pretty repetitive. They either stop and give up or they get out and run. And this night was different.
I drew my pistol and tried to put rounds somewhere that direction.
There was a point where he disappeared behind his truck into the cab. And at that time, I'm like, I just got to try to hit this guy. And I start firing through his back window. He reemerges from the truck, and this time he starts shooting with a rifle. You could tell it was an AK-47 or an AR, just the way it sounded.
I didn't want to get caught behind my door. Doors don't stop bullets. And so I wanted to have something solid between me and him. And so I retreated back to get behind Justin's truck. Justin flanks me. He's trying to get a clear shot. I can see him down in the ditch. And so as Justin and Freeman exchange gunfire, I look over and I see Justin's laying on the ground.
All right.
So I ran out to him and
Justin, breathe! Breathe, Justin! Breathe! Come on, Justin! Breathe! 2555 Pierce. Officer down. Just off US 90.
I wanted to make sure he's okay. And when I got to him, I knew he would.
Bitch. Come on, find James. Call for EMS.
5-0 code. Starting CPR.
And the shooting stopped.
Where's he at? I don't know.
I saw the suspect running away from us, and first thing I thought was there's a tree line that I knew was there. And at that point, I'm thinking, if he gets in that tree line with that rifle, we're in trouble. And I just had to take a deep breath, and I shot 2 more times. And that's when I saw him drop.
Where's he at? He's laying on the ground. Anybody else in the car?
Once he's down, me and my sergeant were able to clear the vehicle and secure the suspect together. Once we get him secured, I could hear, which I think was Blackburn, saying, hey guys, Justin's been hit and he's hurt really bad.
3, 4, 5, break.
Somebody finally took over for me doing CPR. And I knew Justin wasn't in a good spot. I think I asked somebody if the gunman was down and out.
Did y'all kill him?
I don't think
No. Did y'all shoot him?
Yes.
I said, you just shot one of my brothers. And he had no expression, nothing to say to us. And he had that blank stare on his face. Like he didn't care. Like he was so angry that we caught him.
I'm starting CPR now.
I wanted to make sure that Justin got justice.
Come on, Justin. Come on. Come on, Justin, son. Give him a breath.
He didn't have a violent past.
He had some sort of fantasy, being the aggressor in a shootout with the police.
I shoot a lot of down. One of my favorite things to do.
After a wild shootout, the first responders were desperately trying to save Game Warden Justin Hurst's life. While the shooter, James Garrett Freeman, is arrested and transported for his injuries to a nearby hospital, Game Warden Justin Hurst is life-flighted via helicopter to the best trauma center around in Houston. And the Hurst family is notified of the shooting.
We were staying with Justin and his
He
wife
and Amanda. Mm-hmm.
and Kyle, who was 4 months old at the time. Amanda went into Houston, so her and I were going to get the babysit.
I really thought Justin was going to beat me home, but he wasn't there when I got home. And so I thought, well, he probably saw someone with a spotlight or someone called for backup on something. So I went ahead and went to bed, and sometime in the night, maybe 2 o'clock or so, there was a knock at the door. And when I opened the door and I saw Justin's captain there, I pushed him and just pushed him and pushed him. And I was like, nope, go away from my door. I don't want to talk to you. I tried to shut the door on him. I knew whatever he had to say, it wasn't going to be good.
The captain said, Amanda, he said, Justin's been shot. We need to get dressed and go to the hospital as fast as we can.
All I could think was, we're brand new parents. You know, this can't be the end. We got to the hospital, and the doctors said, you know, we did everything we could, but he was gone.
When he was a young kid, Justin was interested in the outdoors. Later on, he graduated from A&M and went to work for Texas Parks and Wildlife.
Justin and I met, I was in college still, and he was already working for TPWD. I spent my first summer as his intern. We worked together banding model ducks, tagging alligators. Justin wasn't an attention seeker. He didn't like the focus to be on him. Very easygoing, very lighthearted. We dated for 3 years and spent a lot of time just doing outdoor activities. The first time he made me a homemade chicken fried steak with homemade biscuits, I knew I'd hit the jackpot. Justin and I were married in April of 2001. It was perfect.
And then he was accepted into the Game Warden Academy.
It's an honor, really, to become a game warden in Texas.
Justin was kind of our top cadet. He taught us waterfowl identification as a cadet. He had a passion for ducks and geese and waterfowl.
Kyle was born in November of 2006.
He was so excited about being a dad. And he never got the chance.
Justin's birthday was March 17th, and when he was killed, he made it 20 minutes into his 34th birthday.
I kept asking God, why did you take my son? He had so much to offer. Why?
Game wardens have a very dangerous job. What I used to know about game wardens from sitting out at the deer lease opening night of deer season, knowing that they sneak up on you to check on you, catching you at night if you're out spotlighting, looking for coons to shoot, which is what we did growing up. You're on the lookout for game wardens, but I would feel like the main thing you think when you see one is you just want to flee or run away, you sure never think a shootout's going to happen. The night this shootout happened, it was involving a couple of different law enforcement agencies. There are 254 counties in Texas. Except for the 5 largest, all the other counties typically call in the Texas Rangers for their expertise and their assistance. So the Texas Rangers take the lead in this investigation too.
I got to the crime scene before daylight, and once the sun comes up, we start putting markers at every piece of evidence. Freeman, he used 2 weapons, a Glock 357 SIG, and he had an AK-47. We also have the defendant's truck. We find out that he has multiple weapons in his truck in addition to the weapons he used. We also have all the vehicles there, which are evidence.
Over a dozen bullet holes in my truck. I had one go through the windshield and exit behind my headrest, the back window. He was shooting where I should have been, or where he thought I was.
After the crime scene, I go to the hospital where Freeman is being treated and talk to him about why he did it. Well, Freeman was shot 4 times in the extremity, but his condition at the hospital was surprisingly good. He had some through-and-through wounds, but those were doing fine. He had to have surgery on his ankle, but he was doing well. And he was very coherent. I read him his rights, and he talked to me without really any hesitation. And I asked him what was going on that night. He said, I decided I was going to go out and do a little night hunting with my .22 and shoot a possum or something like that. After he shot one, the next thing he knew, he had lights on him and a game warden was there, and then he ran.
What made you think I'm not going to stop? Can you tell me what was going through your mind at that time?
I don't know. I don't even have dreams that it's costing me more money, I guess.
So you thought maybe you could get away?
Well, I don't think I was thinking that, because I know you can't get away. I mean, even if you do outrun him, you're not going to outrun the radios.
He had no outstanding warrant, or he didn't have a lot of violations of the law on his record. He just decided that he was going to try and run. And then at the point in time where he couldn't run anymore, he decided that he was going to have a shootout.
This is kind of your opportunity to tell your side of the story and what was going on with you that, caused you to do this. Because from what I understand, this is not your nature.
I don't know why the hell I did it. I can kind of remember what my thought was. What the hell are you doing? You're going to get killed. Shots. You're not going to, just run away from it.
We were watching the video. When you jumped out, you looked like you knew what you were doing with that pistol.
Well, I shoot a lot at the house.
Do you?
One of my favorite things to do.
He told me he didn't really understand why he did what he did, but accepted that responsibility for what he did.
It was a very tragic thing. An officer was killed.
The officer died. What was his name?
His name is Warden Hurst. Nice young man. His wife just had a baby. How do you feel about that?
Terrible. Wasn't no reason for it.
After Texas Ranger David Maxwell interviewed James Garrett Freeman at the hospital, he was officially charged with capital murder. Under Texas law, he's facing the death sentence. This case is different because you have a defendant who, I found out later, he didn't live a life of crime, but one night in his life, one night of God knows what was going on in his head, and a whole world was changed just by stupid decisions. And there are consequences for every one of those decisions. I'm Kelly Siegler, and I make this promise, the same promise I make to all victims. I won't quit, and I will not give up. I will do what needs to be done. I always have. In 2007, the man in charge of our office, the DA's office in Harris County, basically imploded for lots of reasons. The office was in chaos, and no one knew what was going to happen next. Some friends encouraged me to run, so I ran, I campaigned, I got into a runoff, and then I lost the race for DA. I really felt defeated. I felt like a loser. I found myself thinking, what am I going to do? Because the lady who beat me was never going to keep me, and I was never going to work for her. And then a friend of mine named Ted Wilson was friends with Josh McCown, the elected DA of Wharton County, which is close to home where I'm from, Matagorda County. And Josh called Ted to say, I need some help on this death penalty case. I don't have the experience. I've never tried one before. Do you know anyone who can help me out with that? And Ted came to me one day in my office and said, Kelly, what do you think about working with the Wharton County DA? And I went, home? What? Yeah, heck yeah, I'll help him. I grew up in Blessing, Texas, which is in Matagorda County. I think growing up in a small town is the most wonderful way to grow up. It makes you friendlier, it makes you more honest, it makes you more open. The county north of Matagorda County is Wharton County. I know Wharton County so well. I have cousins from all over the whole county. I can tell you the mascots of all the high schools because of all the football games we played with everybody there. I spent summers in Wharton County. It is like home. So I went down there to meet with Josh before I quit my job officially at the DA's office. And walking into that courthouse, you know, you have to remember that I'd spent my whole career in Houston at our courthouse. So I'm pretty sure they were all eyeballing me, wondering how I was going to be, because I would have been doing the same thing.
This is a woman who's tried 19 capital murder cases and gotten convictions in every one of them. So we hired Kelly as special prosecutor.
I came to work my first day and started reading the file. It was pretty easy to understand who Justin Hurst was. He grew up wanting to be a biologist because he loved nature and animals and the water and all that. And then the rest of his life story with Amanda and his son and his parents and everything about him. You couldn't find a more righteous victim in law enforcement than Justin Hurst. James Garrett Freeman, most people called him Garrett, grew up in Wharton County, born and raised, liked to hunt and fish. And I know lots of boys that go night hunting, and they have guns and they're drinking beer and things could go crazy. That's what I thought. He must have been really drunk, right? But Freeman wasn't. So that part never made any sense. James Garrett Freeman's family hired Stanley Schneider to represent him. I know him very well. At that point, tried 3 cases against him. He is a big city lawyer. He's also not even from Texas. I've seen him in the courtroom. I've seen how he talks to people. I've seen how he talks to jurors. There's no way Stanley's approach and personality is going to play in Wharton County. And in a capital murder like this case, you had the death penalty. Everybody knows what that means. But then the legislature enacted a new law, and you have, for the first time since 2005, life without parole. I think it's a very good thing that we now have this option because every crime and every defendant and every victim is so different. In the beginning, Josh McCown, as the elected DA, with the family say-so, offered life without parole. Every time I've heard of a family that stands up and says, I don't need the ultimate punishment for my loved one, I can show a little mercy, that's a rare thing.
Normally, it's a death penalty for killing a law enforcement person. But we did not want the law enforcement people that were involved to have to go through all the trial and relive that night over again.
Justin, breathe! Breathe, Justin! Breathe! Here, Justin! Breathe!
But the defendant and his counsel refused it.
Then after I was officially on the case, all of a sudden, Stanley then wanted to revisit the offer of life without parole. And at that point, Josh called Justin's family back into his office with me to see what they thought about it at that point. I remember whenever I first got involved with the case, when I came to Wharton County and met Josh that first day and he told me about his relationship with all of y'all, I could tell already that that relationship was different than anything I'd ever seen before.
Just being small town and local, we all just knew each other. So when it happened, it didn't just happen to us, it happened to Becky and it happened to Josh and it happened to a lot of Wharton County.
Right, well they also all saw what you went through.
I do have to tell you, though, that when we sat in Josh's office and you were writing on a yellow notepad, do not ask me why I can remember that detail, but you were writing like crazy, asking me details about that night. And you sat there and I'm thinking, all I can think is this big-time lawyer from Houston, you know, I'm sure she's got her stuff together, but how is she gonna be able to relate to us? And you sat over there and listened to me tell my story, and you were sobbing and just writing and sobbing. I was like, holy cow, she's got a tender spot.
Yeah.
And then when you told me you were from Blessing, Texas, I was just,
right then, yeah.
I was like, she's mine. This is my girl right here.
I remember the first time I met y'all to talk about, can we resolve the case without a trial? You remember that day?
Yeah.
And Josh, more than I've ever seen any prosecutor do, left a lot of, not the final decision, but a lot of it up to y'all.
Mm-hmm. I remember we decided, you know, what our decision was, that we would give him the offer of life without parole.
And do you know why he didn't take it?
No.
I think that his lawyer thought that he was going to beat the case because Josh didn't have death penalty experience. I think that was a very significant part of how that all played out.
I remember you saying, then we've only got one way to go.
When you choose to kill law enforcement, the people whose job it is to defend us and protect us, and you do that ultimate step, you have to be looking at the ultimate punishment. I mean, but there are people that disagree with that. The family felt like they had left life without parole as an option for plenty of time, and they didn't want to do that anymore, and they were ready to proceed with going through a trial and seeking the death penalty. I've been prepping for this case for about a month, and now it's finally time to pick the jury. Everybody in Warden County expected Josh and me to get the death penalty. And the only thing we had to do wrong was pick one bad juror. It's got to be unanimous. And we have to try the case for guilt and punishment. So one of those jurors, this round or this round, that says, I just can't do it, we've lost. We started opening statements that first day. The courtroom was pretty packed. My goal was to tell a story about that whole night and how it all went down. And so we started with the way Freeman went out that night to go night hunting. Scott Blackburn tried to pull him over, and how it progressed, and to how he was able to load those weapons before he stopped. He knew when he got out of the car that he was going to start firing. And then the way he parked his car to try and take out not just Justin Hurst, but 6 other cops, and walk the jury through that so they would understand the calculated, premeditated massacre that Freeman tried to orchestrate that night.
I've never seen someone 5 foot tall fight like a bulldog like Kelly Sigler.
Stanley Schneider and Lee Cox give their opening statements where they lay out suicide by cop, which means that in that moment on that night, he wanted the cops to shoot him because in that moment he was depressed. That was going to be his defense.
There are people who attempt to draw out an officer and put them in a difficult situation where the officer believes they have to shoot. I think that could apply here, but one has to be able to try and establish that through past suicide attempts, through obvious depression.
If Stanley Schneider is successful in making the jury believe this all happened because of suicide by cop, Garrett Freeman could be found not guilty of capital murder, not guilty of murder, not guilty of anything.
In the process of going over the evidence and deciding what we're going to present, what we're not going to present, we as a team made the decision not to present the confession.
From what I understand, this is not your nature.
I don't know why the hell I did it.
My thinking was, along with Josh's, why would we use that? We'd rather have him take the stand if he wants to tell his story. Then he would have to undergo cross-examination and explain everything else. When you see the video of what happened, that's all you need. I wanted to make sure that everybody on the jury understood all the things that were going on strategically on the side of Freeman and the cops.
Freeman was crouched down below the line of the truck bed, shooting directly at Justin.
Justin was drawing Freeman's fire so the other officers could move out and they could then fire on Freeman. Had he not done that, the loss of life would have been tremendous because he was showing no mercy.
Justin, breathe! Breathe, Justin! Breathe! Here, Justin! Breathe!
I truly believe I'm here because of him. I feel like he saved my life and the others.
Josh McCowan was the one who took me on the stand, and we went through the video, the way he positioned the truck. It's just what we teach our officers to survive. And as he was firing on the officers, he worked his way down and worked his way back to cab, which is his best cover, when he fired the last shot. That's someone who's counting. That's what we teach our police officers to do, to count your rounds, make sure that you don't run out of ammunition when you don't have cover. He's very experienced and very practiced. I found out when I interviewed him that he practiced almost every day with his weapons. And my theory is that he kind of fantasized about being in a situation like this. And why did he do it that night? Nobody knows. He did everything in his power to provide himself with the best angle, the best cover. Nothing in his actions indicated in any way, shape, or form that he was trying to kill himself.
To me, it was important that every single officer involved in the chase that night and the shootout that night, for each of them, take the stand. And I wanted the jury to see that those men who testified in that trial, it changed their lives forever.
There are many lives that were affected by the actions of Freeman on that day. And every officer out there was traumatized by what happened that day.
People get this idea that cops just want to get in shootouts and have all the glory, and that is far beyond the truth. I would not wish this on anybody, any officer, to have to even shoot somebody in their career, much less have their partner get killed.
Scott Blackburn is the person who is the beginning of this story. He's the other game warden who was best friends with Justin Hurst. Scott Blackburn was probably the most important fact witness. You want to make sure when you're laying out this whole crazy way it went down to the jury that they understand what all was going on in Scott Blackburn's mind as it started all the way until it ended. And you try your best to put into evidence all the little actions and steps that Freeman took.
I demonstrated how Freeman was using his guns. When he came out with the pistol, he took what we kind of call a military stance or a law enforcement stance, aiming at my vehicle and Sergeant Tierney's vehicle, and he was going back and forth, kind of a sweeping motion from vehicle to vehicle.
The tricky part with Scott was that he was so involved, invested, and traumatized, and it was just painful to watch him have to tell the story.
When I testify, I wear this called an end of watch bracelet. And so it has Justin's name on it and the day that he died. But when the defense cross-examined me, we watched the entire dash cam video together and critiqued every single thing I said.
I think that Scott Blackburn and all the other officers involved that night, that they all did a wonderful job, and there wasn't a person in the courtroom that doubted one word that they had to say. When Josh and I rested our case, we both thought that it was going very, very well.
Stanley had the Freeman family testify to the fact that Freeman had no violence in his background, and this was not him.
The world of people that knew Freeman was a really nice group of people. His parents were wonderful from everybody you talked to. We were dreading that because we knew they were going to be good witnesses, and they were. They tried their best to explain what happened that night, but I think the question that we all had, and maybe they had too, was, but why? Why? What was going on to make him do this? And I don't think any of them had that answer. Dr. Jerome Brown was called by the defense as an expert to try and establish even better this theory of suicide by cop.
The test that Dr. Brown administered to Mr. Freeman is essentially a risk assessment survey for characteristics that mental health professionals have identified as tending to elevate or decrease a risk. Personal responsibility, substance abuse, familiarity with firearms, all of those things are involved in those assessments.
I know Dr. Jerome Brown very well, and I've cross-examined him before. And Stanley should realize that if he's going to call a shrink to the stand, I'm going to read the paperwork. We got a chance to look at his records on James Garrett Freeman, which showed that he wasn't significantly depressed, which is huge if you're going to claim suicide by cop.
Kelly really crossed him hard. And when Dr. Brown was through, he was out the back door real quick. He didn't talk to anybody.
I'm pretty sure they were regretting putting him on the stand.
We were in there through the entire time.
It went on for
3 weeks.
3 weeks.
We watched the young man.
He showed no emotion.
There was no expression on the kid's face.
The trial was dreadful. Brought back all the pain all over again.
I remember telling the jury that he tried his hardest to massacre 7 cops. That would have been the worst law enforcement massacre in American history at that time. It's not real complicated, ladies and gentlemen. He didn't want to go to jail. And when you kill a cop after you tried to kill 6 other cops, if that's not capital murder, then what the hell is? The jury deliberated and came back with a verdict in about 4 hours. It matters where people are from. And these people in this jury, they're from Wharton County, Texas. And I thought I knew then how they were going to appreciate how this crime went down. And they weren't going to put up with it. And they didn't put up with it, and that's what their verdict was. He was found guilty.
It was a relief to hear the verdict. There was no joy on our part in hearing that.
Getting him found guilty of capital murder is what we were expected to do. The real challenge here was always, but does he deserve the death penalty? Once we start part 2 of the trial, we didn't have a lot of evidence. He didn't have prior crimes where we're going to bring in victims or cops. It was more about what is the defense going to do now, if anything, to make a jury think, I don't want to give him the death penalty for any reason at all. The defense brought in Dr. Deneen Milam, a different psychologist, to talk about her testing of Freeman and what she saw. And I remember reading her paperwork thinking, oh, I don't know that I would put her on in the punishment phase of the trial. Because on cross-examination, I was able to show the jury that buried in all of her paperwork was also the finding that when you test Freeman, he has impulse control issues, he has anger issues. That's the last thing you want to be able to introduce into evidence in a capital murder case when the issue before the jury is, are you going to be a future threat? Well, the most common future threats are the people that can't control their anger.
He's a continuing threat to society because no one who knew him his entire life could have predicted what he did that day. That means nobody could say with any certainty that he wouldn't do this again.
We waited overnight for a verdict for the death penalty. And that next day, the jury came back around right before lunchtime and gave him the death penalty.
It's bittersweet. You feel horrible for his family, for Freeman's family, because now they've lost a son. But yet you feel a sense of justice for the Hurst family, because this person who took their son away can't do that to anybody else.
Before I ever even came on board, Garrett Freeman was offered life without parole, and he didn't take it. And had he taken it, he would still be alive today. When I think about y'all's case and the trial, the thing that stands out to me is what happened after the death penalty verdict came down and the jury had left. Do y'all remember what happened?
I remember hugging his family.
His parents, James Garrett Freeman's parents, they had nothing to do with what their son did that night, and they paid the price for that. What they went through, too, is really, really sad.
To bury their child, and especially after making such a poor decision, you know?
No.
God, no mom should ever have to go through that. Okay. You know, our community loved on us and held us at high esteem at all times, and I can't imagine being on the other side of that. She wasn't on trial.
I know.
She didn't make the mistake.
No.
They were just normal people like us, you know? After Justin's death, of course, you know, you go through a roller coaster, and I was livid how anybody could just take such a sweet soul and gun him down like that. And then it took a while for me to realize that it was never anything personal, because the guy didn't know Justin. And had he known Justin, there's no way he could have done that, because Justin was just a good person. He was a good, wholesome person.
My God, what a wonderful man. There was nothing bad about Justin.
There's not a day go by that you don't think of Justin. That's the way it will always be.
To have that actual father figure take you hunting and fishing, teach you how to tie ropes and fishing line, it's not there for me. But she's been here my whole life, helping me through all of it. She does her hardest.
Yep, we've done good, haven't we?
Last year, our team worked with the Aurora Police Department to investigate the murder of Carolyn Jansen.
It appears to be a human body.
Carolyn's roommate, J.D. Harrington, was charged with that murder. The Arapahoe County DA's office hopes to take that case to trial this year.